everybody. The topic this morning is to answer the caregiving question: how to stop feeling that what you do as a caregiver is never enough. How to stop feeling guilty. How to stop feeling like you're worthless, that you have no self esteem, that this whole situation has just made you feel like you can't really manage anything. This applies to all caregiver situations. It doesn't matter if you are an adult child helping a parent, or a spouse helping a spouse, or a younger couple who has children that you're caring for, and maybe your spouse has health issues. All caregivers across the board in all situations feel like, at times, what you do is never enough. In caregiving, there can be a lot of problems and a lot of unknowns. And caregivers will say to me, Pamela, I feel so guilty. I should have known this. I don't know how I didn't know it, but it happened, and now I have this crazy situation that I have to deal with. The first bit about that is you've never been a caregiver before. You've never been in this situation before. There's a lot of unknowns, especially if you're dealing with the healthcare system and insurance companies and providers. If we compare caregiving to other aspects of our life that we need help with, it's important to look at what I call risks. So, what are the downsides if I don't do this? What are the consequences if we make this decision? How will this work out? Now, as caregivers, we're so rushed, there's no time. A lot of times we don't have time to ask ourselves those questions. So, what happens is we make mistakes and then we think, oh, I should have known that. The best way around that is to really look at the consequences and the risks, and take a moment to think about what it is you're doing and what decisions you're making. When you can do that, sometimes then you realize, well, maybe I need to find someone who knows about this. Or maybe I need to get a little bit of help from someone else. Because help in caregiving, whether it's joining a caregiver support group, or hiring someone locally to help you, or getting access to a care manager, sometimes talking to an elder law attorney or a financial planner, because caregiving involves all of these things. Other times it can be as simple as, wow, there's this course out there, it's a couple $100, it would be worth my time. I realize I'm time pressed, but I might be able to learn something from this that can help my situation. So, back to that thought of how to stop feeling that what you do is never enough. Part of that is to get help, even if you think you can do it yourself. That can be a stretch for some caregivers. Then, in caregiving, we can be frustrated because we feel that our efforts are not appreciated, or sometimes just frustrated that we think we can solve a problem and we can't solve that problem. And I will share an example this week that I was involved in. Many of you work with health insurance companies. If you're trying to get something approved, many times there's a diagnosis code or a treatment code that has to go through. And maybe with a previous doctor, you submitted that and it went through and it was perfect. Now you're working with a different doctor, and your health insurance company is saying, well, we're not going to cover that. And you're talking to the insurance company and you say, well, you covered it with a different doctor. What was that diagnosis code? Can you give me that information? And of course, the insurance company is not going to do that, because they know if you do that, you'll use it and then your claim will be approved. Sometimes working with insurance companies can honestly feel like the prevention department when you're trying to get the help that you need, and they refuse to answer direct questions. You talk to five people. So yesterday I talked to five people at an insurance company. Most of them gave me different answers. They wouldn't answer my questions directly. Finally, I got to a point where I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I've been working on this for 3 months now. You've had enough time. This is what I'm going to do. You let me know if you can help me. And I had to go to the extent of that thing. 2 hours later, I get a call. Oh, Mrs. Wilson, guess what? We were able to resolve this issue for you. And I smiled because it took me having to explain all of the facts that I had, the information I had, the research I had, everything that I went to prove that they were the ones holding up this claim for another person. Now, you would think that people want win win situations, that they want to work with you. Sometimes the people that you're working with don't have that decision making power, or they think that they do. They may say to you, oh, yes, this is approved, this is great. And then they call you back 2 hours later saying, we have to check on that. That may not have been right. Or they may say something to you like, well, we can do this, but if you want that, you may have to go somewhere else. It's ideal for caregivers to know what to expect, but the problem is you don't know what to expect. And you don't know what questions to ask, and sometimes you don't know how far to go to get what you need. That applies in family situations too. In family situations where there is a lot of guilt, the person that you are caring for isn't happy with what you're doing, and you feel like you're unappreciated, sometimes you have to level that out by saying, look, this situation isn't ideal for any of us. I know that you constantly complain that I'm not good enough and I don't do the things that you want and all of that. Tell me exactly what it is you expect me to do. Sometimes when we're helping other people, we assume we know the way that they want to be helped, but we may not. We may have to ask those questions and say, well, this is how I'm helping you. You're never happy. What is it you'd like me to do? And is there something else you're upset about that you're not telling me about? You, as that caregiver, though, have the right to go back and say, wow, you make me feel totally unappreciated. When you say that, this is how I feel. So you want to put it on yourself. This is how I feel when this happens. And it doesn't feel good. And I feel like I'm doing everything for you and I can't please you. How do we balance out this situation? And you don't want to give ultimatums. You don't want to say, well, if you're not going to, offer me this, I'm not going to do that. There has to be a little bit of give and take in all of these situations. So the way to stop feeling that you are never doing enough is to have honest conversations in your family about how situations make you feel. How do we resolve that, realizing this is not the ideal situation? And if you're working with healthcare providers and other people outside of the system, sometimes it is important to get help to learn how to ask the right questions and to learn how to navigate situations. So part of it is the family part of how to stop feeling that you can never do enough, and part of it is you're dealing with all of these outside people, you're making mistakes, you don't know what you don't know. That involves a whole other level of finding ways to get the help that you need from people who have the experience. In this video post, there is a link to a blog post on my website that I updated recently about marriage and how caregiving affects marital relationships and how people outside of that relationship don't really see what spousal caregivers go through. Please share this video post, share the link with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support. There are plenty of people out there who are in equally frustrating care situations, and we all have to help each other. Have a fabulous day today. I will see you again soon in another video.